Deputy Vice-Chancellor, colleagues, graduates and guests, as Professor of Music and Theatre, it's my great pleasure to present Janet Ayers for the Fellowship of our university. Many of us may not have heard of Janet Ayers before now, but if you find yourself halfway up Albert Road in Southsea on a Tuesday night, you might hear her singing in Trinity Methodist Church as she leads the Southsea Community Choir in a number from Paul Simon's Graceland album. Otherwise, you might find her encouraging the mass xylophones, tambourines and ukuleles of the Southsea Community Orchestra in a mashup of the Liberty Bell March and Nellie the Elephant. Or else, fronting a fundraiser for people with dementia, those suffering war in Ukraine or for water aid. In short, Janet has been at the heart of community music making in Portsmouth for nearly 2 decades, and her work is nothing short of transformative for those she inspires and the city in which she has settled. Janet grew up in Ruislip within the London Borough of Hillingdon. Her local council supported a Saturday music school where Janet learned violin and singing. Her musical tastes were always broadly inclusive. She loved folk music, rock and pop songs as much as the classics. She loved playing her fiddle and singing at every opportunity, but when it came to her university applications, she took quite a different direction, arriving at Portsmouth to study illustration in 1992, just as we became a university. She graduated in 1995, and like many a Portsmouth graduate, she returned home after her degree to find work. Janet's employment history is a brilliant example of a Portsmouth graduate never giving up in the face of change, but always remaining flexible, enterprising, and open to new opportunities. In London, Janet took lots of part-time jobs, including one at an arts centre, before she eventually secured a permanent role with a book publisher. The rising cost of book production, however, caused the company to make Janet redundant soon after she started. She found an opening in the print design department at the London School of Economics, but her partner, whom she'd met at a recording session, had already relocated to Portsmouth. So she threw in her job and came back down to the seaside, which opened a whole new chapter in her career. It turns out that a Portsmouth degree is not just good for one type of work, but it sets you up for any number of surprising new directions if you're open to them. Janet's brief experience of arts centre work in London helped her secure a job leading singing groups for parents and babies in Portsmouth. That inspiring work introduced her to self-employment, and she fashioned a new career in community music leadership. She trained with Frankie Armstrong, a folk singer and teacher who founded the Natural Voice movement. That movement is about celebrating the voice you were born with, rather than trying to train it to an ideal of perfection. And in the spirit of Armstrong's inclusive example, all the groups that Janet runs are non-auditioned ensembles that emphasise access and fun, non-judgmental participation. They encourage a have-a-go attitude, and they involve a culture of expression, involving sounding your unique voice within a community of others. As a result of her training and experience, Janet feels as strongly as I do that community singing is a vital form of communication and expression for surviving and thriving in our modern world. It involves personal reflection, development and well-being, as much as listening to and making room for others in a rare, non-competitive environment. For Janet, community singing involves, and I quote, a sense of belonging and place which gives meaning to life as we learn to identify with and through the songs we sing. Community music making, when viewed in this way, provides an answer to problems of self-worth, isolation, and communication in all our lives. As Janet puts it, it's time out from everyday concerns to find yourself and your voice in the chorus. In a world that increasingly treats music in schools, colleges, and the rest of society as a luxury, or as mere entertainment, and yet urgently needs it as part of the solution to issues of exclusion, anxiety, and stress, we need community music champions like Janet Ayers. Today, we celebrate and honour the vital work she does in providing safe spaces for people from all walks of life to discover and look after themselves and each other in the act of forming a community of different voices. A chorus of difference that makes a difference to all who engage with it. So, in the spirit of the natural voice movement, and glossing the words of some famous Swedish songwriters, we offer this honorary degree today to Janet to say, thank you for the music, the songs we're singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who could live without it? I ask in all honesty. Where would we be? Without a song in our heart, what are we? So I say, thank you for the music, for giving it to me, and the rest of Portsmouth. We definitely play a chance for that. I present Janet Ayers for the Fellowship of the University.
Thank you very much, George. How do you follow that? Can I have a copy of that speech? So the purpose of this very short address is to say a few thank yous and to provide some words of inspiration and encouragement to the graduates today. But before I do that, let's all just take a nice breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Let's try that. Are you ready? That's better. That's usually how I start all my meetings, especially to get people singing. Firstly, I want to say a very humble and heartfelt thank you to the university for my nomination for an honorary award. It truly is an honour to accept the award and to share this day with the graduates. Secondly, I would like to pass on my congratulations to all the graduates. So we're going to give ourselves a big hip hip hooray. Are you ready? Hip hip!
Hooray!
Got 2 more chances. Hip hip!
Hooray!
One more. Hip hip!
Hooray! It's echoing it.
Oh, it's always good to have an extra one, definitely. So I've been shared to share some words of inspiration. And to do that, I'm going to go back to 1992, which was the year I arrived in Portsmouth from London to start my undergraduate course in illustration at the Art College. And as you know, 1992 is the year that the University of Portsmouth was born. This fact has become significant to me over the years, during that time witnessing how the university has become an integral part of the city, and upon being nominated for the award, reflecting on how my own creative practice has grown and developed. It's very much embedded in the cultural life of Pompey. So fast forward to December 2019, when I receive a letter from the Vice-Chancellor with news of my honorary award, which was a complete and utter surprise. So what happened in the meantime? George covered most of it there very succinctly. After graduating, I moved back to London and found work in arts administration and book publishing. However, it was redundancy that was my big break creatively. Believe me, it didn't feel very positive at the time, but in retrospect, it was what I needed to push me in the right direction. It propelled me back to Portsmouth, where unbeknown to me at the time, it was where I would start my community music career. All I knew at the time was that I needed a chance to start again. Art first brought me to Portsmouth in 1992, and 20 years later, it was music that called me back. So after small beginnings, literally running singing groups for parents and babies, nearly 20 years later, I'm now a full-time community music artist. In January 2020, I attended the annual gathering of the Natural Voice Network. It was our 25th anniversary as an organisation, and apart from all the singing and workshops and swimming and walking, we celebrated the fact how great singing in choirs was, even with all the advancements of online virtual communication. singing in all its forms was a safe bet for the future because it was something you couldn't do virtually. You could only do it in person, so people were still going to come to our singing groups. We were future-proof, if you like. And then the pandemic struck. That was it. No more singing together in person. The end. Just like millions of other people, my work stopped overnight, just like redundancy all over again. But funnily enough, I had pondered about a year or two before, what would happen if I couldn't sing anymore, if I lost my voice? What could I do? That thought became a reality. Did I really want to join the Zoom party? That was what I was thinking. After 15 years of doing my thing, I really wasn't convinced that I would be able to do any singing online. But inspired by my fellow choir leader, Jill Breck, I found the courage, and it turned out to be the best decision. Yes, Zoom doesn't lend itself to singing all together live, but it makes for a hilarious warm-up with everyone singing unmuted. And boy, did we need a laugh during lockdown. More importantly, it kept us singing together on a Tuesday evening for over a year until the restrictions were lifted and we started singing outdoors. There's lots of songs we've sung with the choir over the years, and they mean different things to different people. One of the favourites of the choir was a song called We Are Going by Ossie Bisa. And the words go, oh, actually I'm going to sing it to you. No ABBA songs this time. It goes like this. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It may be hard, we know, and the road may be bumpy and rough, but we'll get there. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. To me, that's a beautiful poetic description of certainty in adversity. The important word in the song is we rather than I, because let's face it, we cannot achieve our potential in life without those around us, and equally be able to help others achieve their potential as human beings. Now, lockdown afforded me some time to return to my visual arts practice. I shared my artwork online as a way to motivate myself, and it was then I was invited by the Good Mental Health Cooperative to run some art group wellbeing classes on Zoom. After all the things that had ended during the pandemic, it was a revelation to start something new, and it felt really good. I found a way to teach art with the same approach I had to community singing and music making, and it worked. So here we are, it appears I have come full circle. From obtaining my illustration degree in 1995, following a music pathway for 20 years, I'm now bringing visual arts back to my community practice. It's not always clear to us what we want to do with our lives. I think most of us want to make a difference, but we're not sure where to start. I'm so glad my journey brought me back to Portsmouth. I love living in Pompey. Working creatively with the community is the best job ever, and I feel very blessed to have got to know so many people who live and work here through the singing, music and creative work I do. Witnessing the positive impact on people's lives, improving physical and mental health and well-being, giving hope and meaning to people's lives. So last but not least, I want to say thank you to my mum and my dad. I know he'd be crying today if he was here. For all the love and support you've given me over the years. To my in-laws, Pete and Sue, for giving me a roof over my head when I landed back in Portsmouth. And to my husband, Matthew, for putting up with my various creative endeavours and projects, which are now affectionately termed as the Janet Ayers Show. Thank you, I love you. I really couldn't have done it without you. To close, I'll use the words of a nautical blessing. May you be blessed with fair winds and following seas. Farewell.
Anybody who knows me well at this point will be relieved to know that there'll be no singing in this proportion. I cannot match that. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the formal part of our ceremony.